Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to wait a couple more minutes. We have a few more folks to trickle in, but we'll get right started. Hey, Ben. Can folks see me right now? Can you see me or no? Oh, no, you can't.
I can't see you. Now I can see you.
There we go. So, folks, if you do have questions, even right now, we'll go through the presentation first, but if you're just populating them in the questions tab, we'll see those and we can just keep track of them so we can answer them as we go. Ben will be keeping an eye on that so that so that we don't miss any. Obviously, there are questions that aren't answered or ones that involve further detail to go into. We're happy to take those offline as well. But without further ado, I think we can get to it. So I'm going to share my screen here and we'll jump right in. Is everyone able to see this?
I can see it's not in presentation mode, but
No, yeah.
there we go.
Okay. Okay, so again, thanks guys for joining us. This is folks who are invited to this were ones that received loans, and so hopefully this is helpful to you. We've so far been able to review, looks like 27 submissions on our job form, which is good, but that leaves about 93, 95 more to look at, and so hoping to answer any questions. The form, we tried to make it as straightforward as possible, but there may be things that we do need to address here. So hopefully we can do that. This webinar is being recorded for anyone who isn't able to stay the whole time or is not here. We'll be able to send this out to folks afterwards so that you're able to review it. This is what we're going to talk about today. So loan forgiveness online review form, that's going to be just going over the form, requirements for microenterprise loan agreements, the requirements for job creation or retention agreements. We'll look at an example of proof of payment, and then we'll answer any questions. So I think first and foremost, eligible expenses. So at this point, almost all of you have received loan funds and aware of the eligible expenses, which include rent or mortgage payments, business utility expenses, insurance expenses, payroll expenses, inventory, and equipment expenses for PPE equipment. One thing, for utility expenses, that does include, your summer bill, water bill, but obviously your, business cable bill, internet, if you pay a phone bill for your business, those would all be eligible expenses. Obviously, gas and electricity as well. All expenses must be for services or activities that have been encumbered after March 27th of 2020. So that is what aligns with when we receive these funds. So, paying for March rent would not be eligible, but April rent would be an eligible expense. One question we have seen is, am I a microenterprise or am I a job creation? And the way to tell is you'll refer to the actual loan agreement that you signed. That will be at the top. Here's, the generic version that many of you received. It will say right at the top, microenterprise loan agreement. Big surprise here, job creation loan agreement. It's going to say job creation loan agreement at the top. Regardless of if you're job creation or job retention, it likely will say job creation, but that's okay. Those are the differences. So you'll know in the form when we look at it how to fill that out at the top. Also, if you are a job creation or retention project, you have more than 5 employees, including the owner. You also had to fill out an Exhibit A, which was part of the agreement that you would create or retain at least one full-time equivalent job. And so that's, you would also have this. For microenterprise loan agreements, you did not have this. So this would look different to you and you don't need to worry about it. So maybe I'll stop here for a second. We'll jump in to just look at the form, but yeah, I'd like to pull it up. Ben, is everyone able to see this? Sorry. Can folks see this? The form, the job submission form? Yes. Okay. Thanks. So yeah, so this is what it looks like. Here's a beautiful snapshot that I had taken and put into the form earlier. This is what it looks like when you come to it. You'll have to enter in who your loan officer was. You'll notice myself and Ben are here. Daniela is actually on maternity leave, and so she is not available for answering questions or whatnot. So if you do have, if Daniela, it was your loan officer, please click Daniela. But there's another loan officer that we have with Liz Tomey who will be able to assist you in the loan forgiveness portion of this project. So you'll enter your name, that's me, the name of your business. Again, if you're a microenterprise loan, if you have a microenterprise loan agreement or a job creation loan agreement, and depending on what you choose, there'll be different options that will populate at the bottom here. When you do fill out this form, we want that you only fill it out once. It will be much easier for us to be able to review all 120 some odd instances of loan forgiveness if you're submitting everything at one time. So please enter the total amount of your loan for forgiveness and be ready to have that documentation to upload. So proof of payment, we're going to look at that in a sec. So I'm gonna do that. 1 second. Let's go back to this. So we're going to talk about proof of payment. Proof of payment is relevant to both microenterprises and for job creation retention projects. So that's going to be universal. The other documentation is the stuff that we need for our funding source, which doesn't really matter for you guys. It's just something that we need in order to make sure we can forgive these loans. So the first thing is the signed self-certification form. If you were a microenterprise, you likely have already given us this. This was part of us confirming that you were eligible with our funding source. So you do not need to resubmit this. but that is what it looks like. We should have it. If we don't have it, we will let you know and we'll ask for it. But not something you need to worry about. On the other side, for job creation and retention folks, you have a little bit more documentation that we will need. So you'll need an employee self-certification form. We're going to take a look at that. You'll need a job creation retention summary, which we'll take a look at, and we'll do the same stuff for Microenterprise, proof of payment, and bill and invoices for eligible expenses. Additionally, you will need to see the payroll forms that provide evidence of the job retained or created. So again, this is a very similar form to what we ask of the Microenterprise loan group, but this is actually for your employee. So you'll need to have an employee who meets the income eligibility requirements for set forth by our funder to fill this out and to sign it. A copy of this is within the job form, and I'll point it out when we get there. But they will need to fill this out. They will also need to share what their household income is, and make sure that it is not over the household limit to be able to qualify for job creation, for job retention, and for ultimately for loan forgiveness. Required documentation, we're going to have the next thing is the job creation retention summary. This is the template that I have on the right here. You'll need to fill out the areas that are bolded and then sign it or sign your name at the bottom. But you can see, you'll add your logo, your business name at the top, and then fill it in as you're going, your business name, if you did a job creation or retention project, and then the name of your employee that meets the income eligibility criteria, and confirming that they have worked at least 30 hours or more weekly. The other portion to confirm that will be the payroll forms. So this is just part of a requirement for, it looks like I wrote for Microenterprise, but that's wrong. That's for job creation. So sorry about that. Oh no, yep, this is the form. Okay, looking at a payroll form. So again, for job creation and job retention folks, pardon the colorful boxes, just to protect personal information. This is the example of a payroll form that would be acceptable. This is 2 slides, so you'll see this is the first slide. Notable things in the blue bracket up top, that's where you'll see the business name. So I want to make sure, we need to make sure this is for your business. So it should have the business name on it. In the red, we have the name of your employees. So we're making sure that name of the employee that meets the income eligibility requirement should also match in the job creation summary. But you'll have their name, obviously, for many folks who've seen this. What's not really relevant is their hourly wage rate, just more so the hours that they worked. So here it's 40 hours, it looks like, for the top 2. And that's really all that we need to see. On the next page, which is a continuation of this, same things going on here. But at the very bottom of this slide, you'll see the pay period, period start and period end date. So we'll also be looking for that to make sure that when the funds were paid to the eligible employee. For job creators, we would need to see this for the 3 periods we'll need to see 3 separate pay forms. So before the impacts of COVID happened, so I think I say between February 14th and March 14th, a payroll form after the impacts of COVID have occurred. So between March 14th all the way through July 25th, I think, of 2020. And then finally, a 3rd payroll form for after you've received funds to confirm that this job has been retained or created. Ben, I'm going to pause there. Have you noticed any questions that we should be getting at related to what we've mentioned here?
I don't see any in my chat. I don't know if that's because people aren't asking them or if as a presenter I don't see them. I'm not sure, but I don't see any.
You don't see any. Okay, well, I'm seeing, you don't see any, I'm seeing them.
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you, let's see what I can do here. Bear with us, folks. GoToWebinar is somewhat of a beast. Assigned question 2. How about now? Can you see it, Ben?
No.
I just assigned a question to you under the questions tab.
Oh. Now I see one. Oh no, I see some now, I think. Hold on. So there's a question from Albana. What if the expenses exceed the loan amount?
That's a good question. Yeah, if the expenses exceed the loan amount, that's fine. You can show us, you know, $15,000 of eligible expenses. You know, that's totally okay. We only need to see the amount equal to or greater than the amount of the loan. So yeah, no need to worry about being exactly on the $7,500 amount or $10,000 amount.
That's the only one I see.
Oh, really? Are you supposed to be in, oh, no. So this is from Albana. Do they have to be prorated? Albana, could you clarify what you mean? I'm not sure I understand the question. Another question from Patton. All right. Eligible expenses start on 3/27. Is there a deadline for how long we have to spend the money? That's a great question. So the terms of this loan when you signed it will go from will be good until either June 19th or June 24th, depending on the date on your loan agreement. If you've not submitted all documentation for loan forgiveness by that time, you will be required to pay back the loan. That's why we're doing this today. I don't believe anyone is interested in paying back a loan that could be entirely forgiven. So if you do have questions, and honestly, if you'd like to not have to deal with this anymore, we'd love to help you towards getting this forgiven as soon as possible. So yeah, to answer your question, the deadline is at the end of your, technically at the end of the period of whenever you signed the loan agreement. So I would encourage everyone who hasn't applied for loan forgiveness to do so sooner than as soon as possible. Good question though. For the employee self-certification form, is this the same or different than the one we already had to submit? It is the same. So thank you for that. It is. I put it in there just for folks to know that's what we need. If you haven't submitted it, we will let you know, but no need to worry about it. Is it okay if my employees that I retained or not is in the low income bracket. Another good question this is for job creation. If your employees, they need to be, we're not worried if they're, again, there's 3 different categories. I believe it's extremely low income, and moderate income. All right. Sorry, folks, I turned my webcam off. I'm having some connectivity issues. Hopefully you can still hear me. But the 3 brackets for the employee self-certification form is extremely low income, and moderate income. And then the 4th is over the limit or over income. We are only looking for that the employee that you are qualifying is in one of the first 3 brackets, extremely low, or moderate. If they are over the income limit, they would not qualify. And you would need to find another full-time employee that does meet the income criteria, or a combination of multiple employees that equal at least 30 hours of work, which is equivalent to 1 full-time, that do meet the other income, that are falling in the other income bracket. My employees are commission-based and do not punch in or are hourly. Let's talk about that more offline. I think I have some other questions about that. How do you pay them? And how do you show? I guess, are they technically employees? It sounds like you might not have payroll, so that's something we would want to talk about, how we could forgive that. Some of our employees did not come back until after July. Is that okay? Yeah, that's a great question. So for obviously there have been significant impacts to businesses throughout this entire process. If there are employees that did not, if you don't have payroll forms for the months in between coronavirus and July, the beginning of the coronavirus and July, you would just show us the payroll form that you do have. Even if it has 0 checks paid, that would be useful for us so that we can make the case that the funds that were provided were used towards creating that job. If you're able to bring that person back, that would be an example of a job creation project. So yeah, please still submit the 3 different payroll forms, the one from between February and March, between March and July. Again, even if you don't have the same employee or don't have any payroll that you did run, just send us what you have in that case. And then when you were able to either rehire or bring that employee back to have that. We got that. When is the form due? Joe, good question. Again, the deadline to be able to have all loans forgiven is the 1 year from the date of the loan agreement. I'll stress again, obviously, I'd imagine most folks would like to know that this is not something they need to worry about as soon as possible. So we're encouraging folks to get documentation submitted as soon as possible. But the answer is not until June of next year. Okay, so Christine, yeah, for the employees, let's we can talk more offline. I'd want to just have more follow-up questions, but again, we're happy to find a way to, with everyone in here and for all businesses that are working through loan forgiveness, we're happy to assist you all to make sure we can forgive these loans. So all right, so let me hop back in here. I think so. Ben, were you able to see any of those, or those are all me?
No, I think you have to assign a question to me for me to, as organizer, for me to see it.
Got it. Let's do that for all of these moving forward, but
you're doing a great job without me, so.
Thank you. You didn't have to say that, but you did. All right, so getting back, example of the payroll form. moving on, this is something universal to all folks here. Proof of payment examples. Here's one from Eversource, electricity. Again, forgive the colorful rectangles. I'm blocking out the business's name, but this is an actual example. This is for electricity from, within the payment period that would be eligible. So it looks like July 17th was the amount due. It does have the service terms, maybe not on this page, but on the next. So knowing the period of when the service was used, we have the number. It was $2,544, and so you'd submit this documentation through the job form. The other side of this would be the proof of payment. So that's the invoice that we just showed. The next would be uploading a copy of proof of payment, and proof of payment can be a detailed credit card statement, a bank statement, which is what I'm showing here, or a copy of a front and back of a canceled check. I recognize getting the front and the back of a check is somewhat outdated. If you're able to just show through your bank statement a front picture of the check, and also the processing numbers or whatnot that show that it's actually been processed, that's fine. So if you're having trouble getting the back picture of a check, then don't worry about it. So again, yeah. So this is the front of the side that I could fit into this slide. Again, it's a business bank account. It matches. I guess the key thing is it's a business account. It's not your personal account. We do need to see that the account number or the account is aligned with your business and not a personal account. And then again, blocking out a lot of more personal information. Oh, can you guys even see the portion that I want to show? I don't think you can. Oh yeah, you can at the very bottom, where it says Eversource and it's highlighted. For us, that's good enough. That's $2,500 of expenses that we would be able to easily forgive on the proof of payment side. So it says Eversource, it matches the amount of the bill, and that's what we're looking for. Oh, that was the one that I needed to show. There it is. So yeah, at the very bottom, you can see it matches, and we're in good shape. So how do you know when you're all forgiven? I guess again, thank you all for your patience throughout this process. We will be looking at a lot of paperwork for folks who are asking for forgiveness, so please allow for us some time to look at that. 2 weeks, if you can allow us 2 weeks just to be able to get a look at the documentation that you have submitted, for us to be able to get back to you within those 2 weeks. And if you've given everything that we need, if we have everything you need, then we'll be good. If you haven't heard from us, please email your loan officer to let them know you've submitted the documentation and are waiting to hear back. And if all documentation has been reviewed and is in good standing and we have everything, you will receive an official loan discharge note. And once you receive that loan discharge note, you're good to go. You don't need to think about this stuff anymore. You don't need to continue to monitor or continue to save those receipts or whatnot once you have that. So I'm hopeful to be able to get that out to everyone as soon as possible, and we're happy to work with you all through the process. So again, I'll see if we've gotten any more questions since going through. I'm not seeing any, which is okay. Oh, here we go. Oops. Sorry guys, here we go. How does the loan, all right, another question. How does the loan interact with PPP, Payroll Protection Program? Good question. So basically for any expenses, eligible expenses that you are using towards, you are putting towards payroll protection. So in this case, obviously payroll expenses, you would not be, you're not able to double dip is the short of it. If you're, receiving funds from the federal government for paycheck protection for employees that you have, you are not able to also use those funds towards this loan fund. So you'd still be able to use this loan fund towards other eligible expenses, whether it's rent, utilities, inventory, that would be okay, but you would not be able to double dip in so to speak in terms of what you are how you are using federal loan funds, which these are federal loan funds as well as the PPP funds are. Is pest control an eligible expense? It is, if it's related to your business, yeah, I would say so. Yes, it would be. We need to see an invoice from pest control company or your business, and then proof that you paid the pest control company. But yeah, that would work. Clarify, oh, somebody left. We need to spend the money by this past June, July? No. Yeah, again, deadline to spend funds and receive loan forgiveness is not until June 19th or June 24th of 2021, to clarify. So screenshot of the bank statement online that I just showed is not a source. It is a source. That would count as long as we could, match your. Shows that it's your business bank account and shows that it matches with the invoice, the corresponding invoice for whatever the expense is. Similar to how a credit card statement would look like. It would detail the supplier or the organization you're providing the funds to, and then have that correspond with the bank or the invoice. Where will we be able to review these slides after the seminar is over? So I'm going to be able to share this presentation afterwards. You might need some time before I can send out this the webinar, or I guess the slides, just because there is sensitive information in there and I want to make sure that's protected before sending it out. So give me a few days, but if you are asking, I'm happy to send it out to you once it's good to go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna just open up the actual, finish where we left here with the actual form. For anyone, again, we detail a copy of what proof of payment looks like. We have examples of what that would look like. And then, so the three terms I mentioned for job creation, for the payroll reports, you need one between the months of February and March, the second one between March 27th and July 27th, and a third from whenever you received your any time after the date you received loan funds. For a copy of the documents that we showed in the slide deck, the job creation retention summary can be found here. And the signed self-certification form for an employee can be found here as well. So depending on how you fill this out, again, these are the eligible expenses. You can select as much or as little as you want. One word of advice or word of that would help our team is to, and if you're able to do it, but obviously you're able to spend these funds on eligible expenses however you'd like, is the larger costs or the more expensive amounts that you do that are eligible expenses to submit those for loan forgiveness first, and which typically is going to be your lease or rent payment or your utility bills. But again, other expenses are eligible. Inventory could also be one of those. This will just save you and us having to hold on to many receipts for $50 and $100 to get all the way up to your loan amount. But again, if that's how you want to do it, that's also fine. It just may take us a little longer to review, but that's okay. So you'll see just how this populates where you can upload the information, and you'll enter in how much you spend on each individual eligible expense. So inventory, please add up what you spent on inventory and then provide that evidence in the bill and in the proof of payment here. You'll do the same for other eligible expenses. Personal protective equipment is, for another example, how much do you spend in that realm, and then provide the evidence. I think that's all I have. I'm gonna hang out for a little while if folks have other questions. Just again looking through the questions here if we have any new ones. Our monthly financial statements from my business checking and credit accounts considered as proof of my expenses. I have recurring online payments with Eversource, National Grid, Xfinity. So yes, we would still need to see what you're purchasing with those costs. So yes, so if you do have recurring online payments that are happening, as I showed in the example in the slide deck, we had Eversource and then it showed up in the business bank account. We still need that proof of what the cost was, or what, to confirm that it was during an eligible time period for these funds, but also just as documentation to show that we're covering ourselves when the federal funders ask, how funds were spent. So yeah, so you will need to track down, I believe on Eversource or National Grid's websites that you can download a copy of your invoices, and then you'll just need to upload that to this form to submit. Similar, for inventory, if you're going to Restaurant Depot, for example, or have a produce vendor that comes regularly, they provide invoices each and every time that they show up. And so you'll need to hold on to those if those are expenses that you'd like to ask for forgiveness for eligible expenses. Oh, a link for forgiveness. Let's see. Sure. That's the link to this form that we're looking at. A clarifying question, yeah. Eligibility for proof of funds is money or bills occurred after March 27th. Yes, so yeah, where any expense that that occurred prior to March 27th would be ineligible. So we would not be able to pay past due expenses that happened or occurred before March 27th, only things after March 27th, 2020. Oops. So to follow up with the PPP question about how PPP interacts, looks like you're able to use PPP towards just rent. I wasn't aware of that, which that's not, they're not making it easy necessarily. But so if, depending on how many months of rent you were able to cover at PPP, if they're, if you use those funds towards rent and then have additional expenses that were not used with the PPP funds. So maybe an example, maybe you use PPP funds towards July, August, and September rent. You could then use these funds for October, November, December rent, however you want to do it. Or if you don't want to worry about the mixing the two different funding sources towards that and getting into that whole world, look at the other ways of other opportunities for eligible expenses. I would suggest. Yeah, so I guess up to you, but that would, if whatever is easier. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. And how do I make this? I'm gonna make this a little bigger so I can keep track of all these questions. Here we go. Oops. Let's see. When showing payment of eligible expenses, it is okay that the vendor name appears on bank statement with payment amount, but it is not the front or back of a check. Payment listed as electronic payment on bank statement, similar to credit card payment. Let me see. We would need to, I think for Sam, maybe we can connect afterwards, but we'd want to make sure that, again, the person you're paying is works for the business that you're, covering with the invoice. So, if you're receiving an invoice from ABC Moving Company and making a check out to the boss of that company, we would need further documentation that shows that this person is the boss of that company. So I guess preferably it should match. That's going to be the easiest path towards this. Otherwise, you're going to need further documentation. Thank you guys. Again, thank you for your patience here. We're again want to make this as painless as possible. We recognize there are many other things that everyone has going on, and so thanks for bearing with us. If you do have further questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out to your loan officer, to myself, or to Ben, or to Liz. I'll add Liz's, I'll CC Liz in the follow-up email. But yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I'm just going to keep cruising through. I'm happy to hang for a couple more minutes just to see if there are any other questions that we missed. Okay, Sam, yeah. If you can get the names to match, that would be super helpful. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for being here. Hope it was helpful. Guys, yeah, GoToWebinar is quite it's a bit overkill here, but you know, we made it happen. Let's pop this out. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any other questions. Last call. There's one that I missed, please, or that, you know, I asked if you want to follow up with us after this, please do. But otherwise, yeah, I think we can call it here, and thank you all for joining. You know how to contact us, and thank you for your patience throughout this process. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks.